Yeah, hi everyone, Mr. Markwick here. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to construct the box plot from a set of data. But before I do that, I'm just going to show you some features of a box plot. They used to be called box and whiskers plot, and I'll show you why. So if you look at box plot here that's been drawn, basically there's a box in the center and the whiskers are on either side. So that's why it used to be called box and whisker plot. Just for short now, usually refer to it as a box plot. Now, we looked at working out a 5-figure summary in a previous video, and these 5 figures or 5 values from a set of data are the values that are used in drawing your box plot. So we spoke about that minimum value, that's the first point of your box plot, your Q1, that's the edge of the box, your Q2 or your median, that's the middle of your box, your Q3 or your upper quartile, that's the other edge of the box, and your maximum value. So they're the 5 numbers we were working out previously from your 5-figure summary. And you can see here that the box plot is a good way of displaying data in, I guess, sections of 25% of the data. So basically you can look at a box plot and say, this is the top 25% of the data, or this is the bottom 25% of the data, or this is the top perhaps 50% of the data from Q2 upwards. Alright, so pretty good to actually have a visual representation of those quartiles that we were talking about in the previous video when we were working with the 5-figure summary. Now, one other thing we looked at in that video when we were working out the 5-figure summary was how to work out an outlier. Now, we know an outlier is a number that sort of doesn't belong. It's either too big or too small. On your box plot, or when you graph a box plot, you don't actually include the outlier as the maximum value here. You just record it as an X or a cross. You still show the outlier on the graph or on the scale, but you don't actually include it in the box and whisker plot itself. Okay, so just keep that in mind, and I'll do an example here in a minute, which it does have an outlier, and I'll show you how that looks. Just the other last point it's got here is that parallel box plots drawn on the same scale, they're used to compare data sets within the same context. So it might be you're comparing 2 classes that are both on the same test and comparing the scores from maybe class A and class B. You put that on the same set of on the same scale and draw 2 box plots, and that way you can look at the results from those 2 classes visually and actually be able to compare them a little bit easier using the box plots, talking about maybe the top 50% of the data, or the top 25% of the data, or the bottom 25%, for example. So, anyway, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to do a dual box plot or a parallel box plots today. I'm just going to do one box plot from example 4 here from your textbook. And I've got a set of data. It doesn't actually say what it's for. It's not really necessary. It just says, A, determine whether any outliers exist by first finding Q1 and Q3, and draw a box plot to summarize the data, marking outliers if they exist. And we spoke about including a little X for your dot plot. First thing I need to do is work out my 5-figure summary, and it's my 5-figure summary that I use for the box plot. So I've already ordered these values. Okay, the first thing you do is order them. I've done that here already, starting with the smallest, working my way up to the largest number. So we know that the first number is the minimum. It's quite easy. The final value there is your maximum. Okay, so they're 2 numbers that go on your box plot. Now, next thing to do is work out my Q2, my median value, my middle value. So let's work out how many numbers have I got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 plus 1 is 15. Divide that by 2 is 7.5. So it's my 7th and 8th value, or the average of the 7th and 8th value, which is my middle value, or my median. So let's find the 7th and 8th number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, those 2 numbers are my middle values. I've got to work out the average of those 2. 5 plus 5 divided by 2 is still 5. So my Q2 is 5. Now, looking at the bottom half of the data here, I'm only looking at the bottom half of the data. I've got to find the middle value there to work out my Q1. So, bottom half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 plus 1 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So my fourth value, 1, 2, 3, 4, just happens to be the number 4 as well. And again, after the median, 4 values, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my Q3. So Q1 and Q3. Now, it says here, determine whether any outliers exist by first finding Q1 and Q3. I'm not going to go through that process. You guys know there are two formulas to work out if there are any outliers. If it's less than Q1 minus 1.5 times by the interquartile range, times by the interquartile range, or if it's greater than, or if it's greater than Q3 plus 1.5 times by the interquartile range, then it is in fact an outlier. Now I'm not going to go through that working out because I don't have much room here. Basically, the idea of today's video is just to show you how to construct or draw a box plot. I'll tell you right now, I've already done that working out. 12 is in fact an outlier. Okay, and if you did that, Q3, which is 3 plus 1.5 times the interquartile range, which is 6 minus 4, which is 2, would tell you that 12 is in fact an outlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those values to draw my box plot. First, I'm going to draw a scale. Now, the scale needs to be uniform. I'm not just going to have the numbers that I've got here, because you can see here the difference between 9 and 12, that goes up by 3, whereas this one only goes. So I'm actually going to have a uniform scale down the bottom. This is really important. So I'm going to start at, let's start at 1. And I'm going up by 1 each time. You might have a different scale if you've got a larger spread of numbers, but I've got quite a small spread, so I'm just going up by 1 each time. All right. Now, that all fits. Perfect. Look at that. Now, 12, I just said, I've already worked out earlier that that's an outlier. So on my box plot, that's above the 12. I'll represent an outlier with a cross. Okay, that's not going to be part of my box and whisker plot. These numbers are though. So 2, which is my minimum, is going to be part of my box plot. It's a little dot. My maximum now isn't in fact 12. It's the next number down. It's 9. So 9's my new maximum. So that is also represented by a dot. So they're the edges of the whiskers. And then my Q1, my Q2, my Q3 form the box. So Q1 is 4. Draw a line there. Hopefully, guys, you're using a ruler. Q2 is 5. And Q3 is 6. Oops. Let's get that line back. Q3 is 6. And just draw that box. And extend the line from the box to those whiskers. And there you have it. Box plot for this set of data. If I had another set of data and I wanted to compare it, I would draw a box plot. If I had room, again, just above here somewhere, so that I could compare this data that I've got here with this second set of data, or that second box plot. I'm just showing you how to draw one box plot. Like I said, a couple of things to remember. You've got an outlier. Okay, draw it as a cross. Yeah, and then your new maximum value is the one before that outlier. The other thing is that your scale needs to be uniform. So notice how I'm going up by units of 1 here. Make sure you do the same. You go up by a uniform scale. So you're not going up by 1, then 2, then 5, then you've got the same number, because you're using numbers from here. You don't just draw a box plot over that. Don't use that as a scale. Okay, come up with a uniform scale, and then put in your 5 figures over the top of that. And draw your box and whisker plot from there. Okay, guys? Again, my class questions will be up on Daymap. Again, hopefully this helps. Use this as a blueprint. Go back, watch it again. Pause it if you have to. First thing, just remember, write down your data, smallest to largest, in order. Then work out your 5-figure summary. Determine if there are any outliers. Once you've done that, you can draw your scale up and then put in the box plot over the top. All right, thanks, guys.